It's just it's gone so far away from, the heyday or the 80s, the new generation.
Right. Yeah, the 80s, a lot of that was a lot of self-destruction. A lot of my friends, more than I could care to even repeat all their names, have passed away. It was just like it was a line that I heard Bret Hart say about Owen Hart back years and years ago when Owen passed away, and he just said, I always thought I'd grow old and be able to go over to Owen's house and go out golfing with the kid and hang out with him. And it's the same thing with guys like Hercules and Davey Boy Smith and John Tenta and Road Warrior Hawk and people that were friends of mine, Crash Holly, and just so many. Louis Spicoli comes to mind so quick, one of my best friends and greatest students I ever trained. Guys like that come to mind where it takes a piece of you away, and it really does change the course of wrestling history. And it really is bad for the business in so many ways, not only for the fact that these guys lost their lives when they were young, but it changes the mentality of the kids coming up because they don't have the veterans so many of the old-timers to learn from and hear stories from to help them in their careers now. Sure, there's a lot of guys left, of course, but there's a good chunk of boys that are disappeared, and that's very unfortunate. Kurt Hennig, a very good friend of mine, and Sherry Martell and Elizabeth, and you could just sit here and you could just name and name and name and name. And after you've named them all, your mind goes back to 5 minutes later, and you name 20 more, and your heart, and you're thinking, and not the least to mention guys like Eddie Guerrero, of course, and it just goes on, and they were good people, and they just tear you apart when they go, and I think that hurts the business a lot. Just kind of my opinion. I'm big on my friends, and when somebody leaves, especially far too early. It's one thing when Lou Thesz passes away at 82 or, something like that, then that's a respectable way of going. But when these guys are going in their 20s to 40s, it's just so sad, very, very sad.
We'll be right back with more of Bill Anderson. Check us out on the net at OWWFan.com.
OWW Radio.
Obsessed with Wrestling, OWW Genesis, OWW Radio. On the line with us is Bill Anderson, Nick Anthony, Kenai Andrews.
You mentioned Eddie Guerrero. Now, you are close up there where Eddie is currently buried there in Scottsdale. Can you tell us or tell the fans what it was like attending Eddie's funeral?
It was, I guess, besides the death of my parents, probably one of the saddest days of my life. The funeral was literally, it was a 10-hour affair. I got there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they had about a 2-hour wake before the service began in a chapel in the cemetery. There was an open casket. I just and of course, Mondo Chavo Jr., Sr., and Mondo and Hector were all there. And I've known all of them for years and years. I first met Mondo and Hector in '82 when I came to California working for Mike LaBelle. And Chavo, I met him just a few years after that, and his son a few years after that. In the early '90s, I met Chavo Jr. But and Rey Mysterio Jr. was there, and Conan, a lot of my other friends, and so it was sad in so many ways that this man at 38 was gone. It was just sad beyond belief. I'd spent a lot of time in the ring with the guy. He had some of his very first matches with me in Tijuana, Mexico, and around Los Angeles in '88, '89, and I've of course respected his family. I still do. All his brothers, all his family is the most talented family that I've ever known. The work ethic is so solid, and their style in the ring is unique. And you're just blessed to ever have a chance to wrestle against any of them because you're in with the top of the business and good friends, good people that are just they're solid workers in the business, and just an honor, total honor to know them all. But the funeral itself was guys like Luther Reigns was there, just in tears. Every hour he was there, and it broke us up. We just look at other people around us. When I was there with some of the students I trained, Sonny Ione from the San Bernardino area, who's an actor now. He doesn't wrestle much, but he was there, came in with Jesse Hernandez, and I was there with him and some of my local wrestler friends here, and we just look at each other and just start busting out, crying. I mean, it was just the saddest day of my life, and it went on and on and on, and there was the funeral. The service itself was probably about 4 hours long with superstar Billy Graham, my dear friend. I had lunch with him yesterday here in Phoenix, and Billy was doing the service. Also, Larry Careychuk, the head founder of Athletes International Ministries, that Eddie had come in for some events that I had partaked in with him. And so Larry Careychuk and Billy Graham did the services, and they spoke for hours, and had guests, of course, Vince McMahon, Stephanie, and Shane, and Linda McMahon were all here. A lot of the wrestlers themselves for WWE were not, because I think they went on a European tour that morning or the day before or something like that. And only like JBL was there. Chris Jericho came in, Chris Benoit and Nancy, unfortunately, even bring their names up, were there also. Mm-hmm. Along with, there was many others that were there, Dean Malenko.
Basically everyone was there.
The Spike Dudley. There was a lot of different guys there, and it was just so sad. I don't think I've ever cried as much as I did that day. And they had, after the service was done around 3 or 4 o'clock, they actually had like about an hour and a half private service for just the family, or viewing of the family in the chapel. And after they were done, it was already around 5, something like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then we all walked to the gravesite, which was at the other end of the cemetery. And I mean, there was hundreds of people, and it was just incredibly sad. Is about the only word I can keep using. I just felt like a piece of me was gone that day, and Eddie was just too young. And I guess what it always does, it brings us to remember maybe everything we've ever done wrong in our lives, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, and you start thinking, wow, can I go this young too? I mean, I was already, that was 3 years ago, I was already 49 years old at that time, so I figured, well, okay, Eddie's 38, I'm 49, I've already made it this long, and I'm still alive, I guess. But it brings that fact out that you can't ignore, that, wow, anybody could go at any moment. We don't know how much time we have left on this earth.
And they say it all the time that your past will definitely catch up with you if you definitely abuse alcohol and drugs and any of that, which it did with Eddie Guerrero.
That's true. And after the funeral was done, I went out to dinner with Billy Graham. You know, you just kind of sit almost in silence while you're eating and just stare at each other, and you just shake your head, and you can't believe what you did.